Okay, now I need to create an Eclipse project here for my client code. So I'm going to call this one Simple RMI Client. And once again, this needs to reference my Simple RMI Common because that's where my interface in Pi computation is defined. And once again, I'm going to import as much as I can from my original project. So 90% of my client code is going to remain unchanged. All I have to do is basically change how I bootstrap this. In other words, when I created my old server in process here, what I need to do here instead is bind to the object that's going to be running in the remote server. So we're going to replace this code, and I'm going to move it down here in the try block. And the first thing we need to do, and this is just boilerplate code that you can take my word for right now, is we need to set the security manager. So we're going to call this method here, and we're going to pass to it a new RMI security manager. Okay, and that is found in the Java RMI package. So we'll import it. Okay, and now we just need to look up and bind our server instance variable. So it implements the interface Pi, so we're going to say we have an object instance that implements this interface. We'll call it the server as we did before. And then we're going to call this naming static method lookup, and we're going to simply give it the name. And in this case, we're going to do an URL. And since it's on the local host, we're going to say localhost. And you'll remember I gave it the string name my server in the server code that we saw a moment ago. Okay, and this needs to be imported. And we need to cast it to the right type because it's returning just an object. Looks like I still have an issue here. If I move over the error, oh, okay, so I've got an unhandled exception type. So I'm going to go down here and change this to just be more general to handle all the RMI exceptions as well. Okay, when I save, okay, now my client builds cleanly. So let's go ahead and run this. You'll recall from the first part of the tutorial that the first thing we have to do when we're running a RMI application is to actually get an RMI registry running. So the Eclipse plugin, the RMI Eclipse plugin gave us this nice handy RMI control center, which lets us do this in a real easy way. So we're going to go down here and we're going to start a local registry, and we're just going to take the default port, which is 1099. So I'm going to select this, and now the registry is running. We can tell if we go back to the control center here, you'll actually see right here it says registry active on port 1099. Okay, so now that I got the RMI registry running, I want to start up the server. Before I do the server, the one thing I got to do is I have to come down here and make sure that the stubs for that interface get generated. So I'm going to take this option here, enable stub generation. Okay, and once that's done, I can go ahead and run the server. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to create a RMI application. Okay, and one of the things I have to do before I do this is set this parameter under the RMI VM properties so that I pick up the appropriate class files. So in this case, we're going to actually get them via the Eclipse class path. So we can click on these ellipses over here, and in this panel we're simply going to pick compute from class path. Okay, and then if I apply these, actually let's give this a name. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and run. Okay, so you can see here that my server is now up and running. We can confirm that our server is running by going to this RMI Registry Inspector tab. Okay, and now we can actually see that this server is up and running and supporting this particular interface that we're interested in. So now let's run the client. So we're going to come over to our run configuration here, and once again we're going to create a RMI application. Okay, and here we actually, you'll recall that we created a RMI security manager, so we need to set what's called a policy file. So we're going to go over to this value under Java security.policy on the RMI VM properties tab. If we click these ellipses here, we can actually just have the plugin create us one. Okay, and then we'll apply that, and we'll run it. And here it's asking us how many decimal places, so we'll say 10, and bingo, it actually went off via RMI and contacted our server. Okay, so this was a very simple high-level walkthrough of Java RMI, demonstrating how you can easily bring up a server and a client using the Java RMI Eclipse plugin. If you'd like to learn more about RMI, we'd highly recommend a much more detailed Java RMI tutorial available on the Sun website.